Okay, we're live. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually extremely tired. I was in Givatayim today, and I left Givatayim like great hour of 4:20 rush hour, nightmare hour. And I was sitting there in traffic, and I was thinking, people do this every day.
I
This is
used to
what
be a people who did that.
No, but like that road, the Kvish Arba that goes from Bar Ilan all the way to Kvish Gea is like a nightmare. It's
Right,
thinking,
right. It's like Knight Rider on one side and the Dukes of Hazzard on the other, and then like some slower drivers in the middle, and you're like trying to weave your way in and out, and yeah,
exactly, exactly. And
yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my God, people do this every day. I'm so happy. I'm going to my little town with no traffic, traffic problems so far. And
It gets a
it
little
was
busy around
not
here at that
fun.
point.
It was not fun. It was not fun,
Yeah.
but I'm glad I'm back.
Yay.
Okay, so I see some people joined us. So for the sake of the people who have joined us on time, thank you very much, guys. Let's just start. Okay,
All right.
so good evening, everybody. My name is Mireille Hoffman, and I am an elder law lawyer. I deal mainly with estate planning, which is wills, trusts, durable power of attorneys, and also with people who have dual citizens, helping them with issues, tax or otherwise, or estate planning issues to do with the fact that they have issues in America and issues in Israel. And from my exposure with this age group, I've realized that there's so many other important issues that should be addressed that concern elders and that have nothing to do with law. And I decided to host talk sessions with various professionals who also deal with or advise or help elder people and their children. And today we're going to be talking to Rachel Weinstein, who is a clinical social worker in private practice. And I'd like you to introduce yourself because you do a very good job.
Hi, my name is Rachel, everybody, and Rachel Weinstein. I'm a clinical social worker in private practice. I am located in Beit Shemesh, and I see people in Beit Shemesh. I'm also licensed in the state of Illinois, most recently, and so I see people through teletherapy, Zoom, Skype. I've met with people by phone, and I actually do meet people in person too. I have a little bitty office in my building, and so I work with lots of different populations, but the general gist of the work I do is helping people with transitions, and transitions come in all different forms. So for people involved in grief and bereavement, the transition from being the child of a parent who is sick or dying, or even before that, and then what it's like to be the bereaved, the grieving child. I also help people through Aliyah adjustment. My family and I just hit our 10-year mark. And so never in my whole life thought I'd be able to say I've been living in Israel for 10 years. But the adjustment is drastic and truly very humorous if you can find some humor in it, because there's a lot to be found. But it's also really difficult. I mean, I always say, I left the United States feeling like a fairly intelligent grown-up, and by the time I got to Israel, I didn't understand why there was, milk in a bag. Like I couldn't function. I can function now, but it takes a lot of adjustment and all of that. And one of the other groups I work with is also supporting people within the community and the parents of people who are LGBTQ+, what it's like, as particularly in the Orthodox community, not necessarily just the Orthodox community, but what it's like for parents who, whatever your plans are for your children, generally speaking within our community, the last thing you expect to hear is, "Mom, I'm gay." And some of us have that experience, and I very much enjoy helping parents who are, in that situation, because again, it's not quite milk in a bag, but it's definitely an adjustment. And so before that, I had also worked in hospice for many years. And so working with people who, per our topic, were sandwiched, that was also I'll go into that. So.
Okay. Well,
All right.
you're doing like a million things, but today we're going to actually talk about the sandwich generation.
That's sandwich generation.
Yeah.
So the sandwich generation, I think a lot of people have heard of it. Some people haven't. It's the metaphor of you're the parent taking care of a child. You're also taking care of your elderly or obviously adult parents, and you are right in the middle. You are sandwiched and oftentimes squished right in the middle. Sandwich generation typically means that demographic, but it can also mean, and this I know because this was the situation when I was growing up, it can also be the spouse taking care of an ill spouse as well as their child. Not quite the same, but definitely kind of really squished in the middle there. So being stuck in the middle, you're really pulled in two different directions, because if you're the mom or the dad, you have to take care of your kids. That's kind of what you sign on for when you become a parent. But now you're in the position of taking care of your, generally speaking, elderly or frail or, God forbid, dying parent. And there's only so many places you can be at once.
Right. Do you want to start with maybe a personal story or something that you want to share with us?
Sure. About, when you go through a certain stage, you don't necessarily know that you're like in it, but I was definitely really in it. About 8 years ago, when my mom was very ill, I live in Israel. My mom was in New York, and I flew out because I needed to be there. And I have a sibling, but I was very much a one-woman show. And I had been taking phone calls at all crazy times. My mom had just a knack for going into crisis on Friday nights in Israel, like right in the middle of lighting candles. And I kept getting more and more phone calls that things were really speeding up, and I needed to be there. So I get to New York, and I planned on, I went into social worker mode. I went into medical social worker mode. I met with the doctors. I talked shop, speaking to my mother, I need the nurse, I need the social worker, I need the physical therapist, on and on and on. And this was my job. This was my job. I was taking notes. This was my job. And at a certain point, I started to get yelled at internationally. I guess that's a talent. But I was getting yelled at from friends and family in America, in Israel, and in Europe. And they were all telling me, I know you're there for 3 weeks. You cannot be in that hospital room all the time. You cannot. And I kept saying, but this is why I came. At the same time, mind you, in Israel, this was just around the time that the school year was starting. So I have, thank God, 4 kids. One was in Sherut Leumi. One was going into Mechina, or finishing the end of their high school years. Another was starting a new high school in a dorm, and another was finishing up elementary school. So my husband was a one-man show on this side of the world, and I was doing the medical parent stuff. And people kept saying, you cannot be in the hospital all the time. And every time I said, okay, fine, I'll take a little break, people who know me knew that a little break meant no break, and they kept telling me I had to go. Finally, I took their advice, partly because I was a little scared of what would happen if I didn't. And I took myself out to lunch one day. Not a fancy lunch, just lunch. It was me, a magazine, and a salad. And I spent hours walking up. I was in Brooklyn, so anyone familiar with Kings Highway, walked up and down Kings Highway, and I went into CVS and Duane Reade and Walgreens, the super farm of New York and a lot of the states, but without the people coming up to you and saying, do you want, lipstick? Do you need stuff? And I just remember I took in the pretty colors. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to buy all the makeup. I just wanted to take in the pretty colors. And it wasn't anything fancy, but it was the respite that I needed, just to take a breather and remember that I'm not only a mom and I'm not only a daughter, but I'm a person, and I just needed to look at pretty colors. And that's what I did. And I was grateful that I got yelled at because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I just wouldn't have.
It's interesting, when you mentioned pretty colors. I'm assuming, I'm not, I don't have any medical background. But I'm assuming the pretty colors was probably something against maybe the gray that you felt in hospital. So you needed like some light, some bright, some different.
It's possible. I needed to be in an environment where the colors, red just meant red nail polish, and blue didn't mean someone wasn't breathing. It just meant blue. That's all I needed it to be, and people talking about happy things, or people talking about anything that wasn't what's the blood pressure, what's the oxygen level, did you call the nursing home, just nothing. It was sort of fairy tale land. And it might seem silly, feeling like that in the middle of a pharmacy, of all places, but I was pretty stuck in the makeup section, so it was a little fairy tale. But yeah, I needed to take that break. And what's interesting too is that one of the things that when my mom was so ill, one of the things that I heard repeatedly was her protein levels were never where they needed to be. They were never where they needed to be, and that kept delaying this procedure and that procedure. And it was ironic because I also wasn't really taking care of myself. Now I'm younger, healthier. So if I didn't have a little protein one day, I might feel a little depleted, but it wasn't pushing off other major things. And so the irony is that while I was trying to get my mother to get as much protein in as her body could possibly tolerate, my niece at one point came to the hospital to visit me and waved a cheese stick in my hand. Why are you waving a cheese stick of all the things in the world? And she said, I bought these for you. You need protein. And it was amazing that here I was insistent that my mother get the protein she needed. But me? Nah. I literally needed my niece, who is a little shorter than I am, and I'm all of 5 feet tall, to wave a cheese stick at me to remind me that I also needed to take care of myself. They say on the, I'm sure all of us who have ever flown anywhere, they say, before
Your
you,
oxygen mask, I think it is.
right. Make sure, God forbid, in case of, I don't know if they say God forbid, but in case of an emergency, before you put the oxygen mask on your children or whoever, make sure you put it on yourself. And that cheese stick was kind of my oxygen. And the reality is that if we don't, the sandwich generation, look, we don't get a lot of breathing space, and we don't get a lot of time to take care of ourselves. And I am sure that at some point during this talk, I will say, look, you have to eat. You have to take a break. And the reality is you don't. You don't have to. Who am I? I can't tell people what to do. But if you choose not to take that break, if you choose not to eat and not to hydrate and not to sleep, what will happen is you will end up sharing a hospital room with your parents. And you can't do very much from there. You cannot be the best parent, the best child, the best caregiver, the best advocate. If you get sick, you're really up a creek. I'm sorry to be so blunt. You really are. So you don't have to do any of the things I might suggest. But if you don't take care of yourself on any level, dehydrated people who are passed out, God forbid, people who are dead, can't really help very much. So don't become that person. So I'm very grateful.
Let's just go back. I want to go back for a second. So, okay, so sandwich generation. But when you think about it on a practical level, what does the parent actually need, and what can you, as the child, not as a professional, as a child, what can you actually do here?
Okay, so I want to kind of go backwards before we go forwards. That one of the things you said is, as the child, not as whatever profession you are. Whatever professions any of us are, our parents may be in service. So of that thing that we do, for lack of a nicer way to say that. So for my mom, she needed a social worker to guide and coordinate things. That could not be me. I needed to be the kid. It doesn't matter that I was a grown-up, that I have 4 kids, doesn't matter. In that situation, I was the kid. So you need someone outside of yourself to be doing that work and that coordinating. If you're a physical therapist, maybe you can talk shop with your parents' physical therapist, but don't become the physical therapist because you're the kid. And that's really, really, really important. We all, I think, go into our professional, tongue a little bit, depending on what we're doing, but these are not our clients or our patients or our, bank partners. These are our parents and our children. We have to be the child or the parent, depending on who we're talking about. So in terms of what parents need, or what we need hopefully to provide for the parent, is we need, first of all, it's important that we're an advocate. It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that we don't take the information that the doctors say, but we need to advocate for our parents. So, for example, if someone looks like they're in pain, this is a very common thing in hospitals and in nursing homes, and that's not to knock anyone, but you're taking care of a lot of people. It's hard to be in 500 places at once. So if you're in the room and your parent says, I'm in pain, and you go to the nurse or the doctor and say, my mom is really complaining, her foot hurts. If the answer is, I just gave her pain medication, okay, then maybe let's see if it'll work. But if you get an answer like, and I hope no one does, she always complains. Or, yeah, of course her foot hurts. She just had, A, B, and C happen. If you have to follow your gut too. And so if that answer works for you, then it works for you. For me, it didn't work for me. And that's just the way it was. You might say, I understand that she's always in pain. Perhaps there's a reason for that. I need you to look into it. It doesn't mean screaming. It doesn't mean being the crazy person on the unit. It just means saying, I hear you. I know you're really busy, but that's my mom or my dad, and I need your help. I need your help. And saying it in a way that lets people know, I respect your position in your field and what you do, but this is my blood, and I need you to pay some attention. And if you don't get the answer you want, again, you don't have to go and become a crazy person. You go to the next person, and you go up, and you go up, and you go up until your person gets what it is they need. If you can't be present, whether you live in the country or you don't, if you can have an advocate there. So, for example, when I eventually went back to Israel, when my mom was still in the hospital and nursing homes, I had a friend who was me when I couldn't be there. So she had permission. We had all the right paperwork signed, and she was able to say, yes, it's okay that Mrs. Levin gets transferred. It's okay, because I gave her that permission. And this way I could take care of myself and come up for air. So I could perhaps drink a cup of coffee and actually enjoy the whole thing. And while my friend was being my voice. The other thing I'll just say is that make sure you have all the information. All the information meaning have whatever necessary medical information. Make sure you know what pills they're on. Make sure you know which doctor do they go to for this or that or the other thing. Just have a list so that you have some sort of reference, so that not only is it so that you have the information, it gives you a little bit of a sense of control. Like, mom said her head's hurting her. That's the neurologist she has to see, or whatever it is. It also, when you go into anything prepared, you do better, you advocate better. So when you have the information, it's important. It makes you a better advocate.
Right, definitely. I wanted to touch on something. I don't know if it's necessarily the right order, but because you mentioned pretty colors, it just brought an idea to my head. A lot of people, know inside themselves when they're in this very difficult position that they need to take a break. But I've heard, not from one person, but from quite a few people say, you know what, that's very nice in theory, but I cannot afford financially to take a break. I mean, it's very nice that they say go for 3 days to the Carmel Spa, or go to I don't know what, or do a manicure. But some people financially are actually stretched at that point because they want to save, let's say, all their money to go to America or to go abroad to visit the parent. They don't want to waste money on taking a break.
Right.
So I'd like you to like talk about that because I think there's all kinds of ways of taking breaks.
Right. I mean, I think first of all, look, if Halavai by all of us, money is no object. That would be fantastic. But even if money's no object, time is. That's the way this world works. Um,
Mhm.
and so even if you take a break, even though I was in the different pharmacies looking at the pretty colors, I also knew that my phone could ring at any point. And so that anxiety, that was on me. I had a decision about how much I could, whoops, my paper's blowing away, how much I could control and how much I needed to control that. There are certain things that are, part of your personality and partly of, how you deal with stress. And the reality is, I mean, I don't believe in, unicorns and fairy tales. This is hard. Anyone who tells you that taking care of, your parent who may be sick or who is maybe healthy for the most part, but you need to like look at resources, for, however down the pike, while your 14-year-old is saying, Mom, I need new shoes. That's not easy. And you're working and you're wifing or husbanding or single parenting, whatever it is. So it's not easy, but there are things that you can do. You also need, it's great, you're advocating for your parents. Make sure they get, the right pain medication, make sure they're in the right placement, whether they need a nursing home or a hospital or a hospice or a caregiver, whatever it is, you have to advocate for yourself too. So if you need help, if you're in a home where you are generally the one who does whatever task, right? In my house, my husband tends to be the guy who does the laundry, right? So if it was a situation like that and he was running back and forth to take care of his parents, I would hope not only that I would say like, I got the laundry, but that he would say, I need some help with this. You need to be able to ask for help. And I know that we're taught to be strong and resilient and all of that stuff. And I think part of not only being in Israel, but certainly living in this slightly tense country, you need to be tough and, whatever. But you're not made out of metal. You're not made out of stone. You will break. You will eventually break. You can't just take and take and take until you're beaten down. So advocate for yourself. I need someone else to make dinner. We're eating takeout 3 nights a week. I know we can't totally afford it. We're not getting gourmet food, but I'm not cooking because I have no energy. You are doing the dishes. You are doing carpool. Whatever it is, it's not going to make mom or dad get any better. It's not going to give your 14-year-old the new shoes they need, but it lets you come up for some air. The other thing is holding on to perfection. When I go to meet with the doctors, I've got to be the best daughter I can be. I got to be on my A game. No, you don't. You don't. Your job is to be the child. You're not going to meet with your parents, physicians, or medical team. You're not interviewing with them. You're representing you and your parent. Just show up. You don't have to be, all coiffed and gorgeous. And I know for some people, it's like, you're right. You don't have to be perfect. If you hold on to perfection, you will break. If your house is a little dirtier than you would like, either get some people to help, or sometimes you just have to say, it's going to be a little messier. It's going to be a little messier. You have to get rest. Again, I said in the beginning, I'm going to say lots of you have to do this. You don't have to. Don't do it. Don't listen to me. But you're going to crack. So the choice is yours, but I would dare to say choose wisely. So asking for help. Sometimes you may need to reach out for help, whether that's speaking to your friends. I need to go out for a drink, whether that's a drink or a cup of coffee in the morning or whatever you drink at 8 o'clock at night, whatever it is, I need to go out. I know, let's say it's hotter than heck, or depending on where you live, I know it's freezing. I don't care. I need to get out of my head and out of my house. Do that. If you need to speak to a therapist, then do that. If you feel like you visit mom or dad every single day, there is no rule. There's no rule in any book, in the Torah, in any place that says you must be there every second of every day, again, you will crack. The same way that I bet that our parents would tell us, we want the best for you. We want you to take care of yourself. Why would you not do that just because you're taking care of them? They generally, for most of us, we learn that from them. So we have to take care of ourselves. But again, also in terms of taking a break, I mean, again, not at all to be crass, but take a long shower, hang out in the bathroom for 10 extra minutes, finish the chapter of the book you're reading. You're fighting for time. You're fighting for time for yourself. You can't stop being a parent. You can't do that. Even on days when, your kids are really, making you earn your keep. You can't stop being their parent. And as much as you think you can stop being someone's child, you can't. So you take the time. It is your time. Take time when you have it. You want to fuzz out on social media for a little while, stay away from any arguments. You want to look at memes. You want to play silly games. You want to watch Friends for the 9 billionth time. Do it. Do it. Fuzz out. Do whatever you can. You need a break. In terms also of advocating for yourself, there's two other things I think are critical. One is if you are employed for somebody else, let them know. You don't have to let them know the whole story, but let them know. I want you to know that my mom or my dad or both are sick. I'm taking care of them, whatever it is. I just need you to know that. It doesn't mean, and now ask for time. If you can, if you need to do that, but let them know. Because again, I speak from experience. If you're at your computer one day and all you're doing is staring at your computer because your brain just stopped, it just stopped, or you're sitting there and you're crying, it's a really good thing for your boss to know, they're not just, they're not just like taking this extended break and I don't know what it is. Oh, you're having a hard time. If they know that they can either, hopefully you have a boss that's supportive, or at least they can know, like, what, do you need a few minutes? Go take a few minutes and come back afterwards. That compassion can make you feel good. If your children are in school, let the teachers, let the principal, let whoever they are connected to. Our kids are not always connected to their teachers. Maybe they're connected to their yoets, their counselor. Maybe they're connected to the cleaning lady. It doesn't matter who. Let whoever they're connected to know that grandma or grandpa are having a hard time and that you're kind of running all over the place. Because our kids spend most of their day away from us, and they will at some point fall apart in whatever ways that they tend to do that. It's important for them to have safe people in the places where they hang, so that if they fall apart and you can't be there, or emotionally you're done for, they have someone. Their best friend, their good friends. Let the moms know. Let the other dads know. Everyone needs a team. You cannot be everyone for everyone. You can't. I tried. And I got a very short niece wave a cheese stick at me. You can't be everywhere for everyone. It's just not possible. It's not possible.
And I think it's okay sometimes to say, I just can't do it now. I'm sorry, I just cannot. Or it's also okay to say, you know what? I'm sorry, but I'm going to watch the stupid sitcom 7,000 times because this is just what I need. I'm sorry. I know that this is maybe sounds silly and waste of time, but for me, I just need it right now. It's actually okay.
Right. The other thing too, because I know we're running a little short on time, is the other thing is that sometimes people say, I can't break down in front of my kids. I can't. I don't know why we can't. I'm not saying fall out on the floor and like get an ambulance. No. But when you are crying because it's really hard, what you're telling your kids is that you are a human being. You love your mom, you don't love your mom, whatever it is, you're letting them know that when it hits the fan and you've done everything you can and you need to come up for air and there's no air to be found, you need to stop and fall apart. You're letting them know that it is okay for them to break. Because if everyone tries to be really, stiff and, we can handle it. I don't know. We don't need to do that. Letting your children know it's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry that you're in this situation. I love my children. I love my parents, but this is making me insane. I wish I wasn't here. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent, and it doesn't mean you're a bad child. Also, if you've been told, or if a person's been told that, look, mom or dad, they don't have a lot of time, you get into a certain mindset of like, okay, we're going from asking lots of questions about what can we do to make them better to, okay, we're nearing the end. And that's one situation. But I know that there are certain people, again, I was one of these people. I was told, your mom is really, we're getting there. And I showed up and I heard her bellow, sorry, Mom, heard her bellow my name when she saw me through the halls of Maimonides Medical Center. And I thought, did they give me the update on the right mom? Because that woman sounds very alive to me. So health doesn't go like this. It goes like this. So it can be really difficult when you don't know, like, wait, you said they were coming to an end and now they're not. It's also okay to say, you know what, I really wish this was over. It doesn't mean you're wishing your parents dead. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything other than, oh my gosh, this is so hard. It's hard. It was hard getting phone calls in the middle of candlelighting. It was hard to literally up and run to New York, and Lord only knows, knew what was going to greet me. It's hard to be everywhere and do everything. It's hard. It's hard every time the phone rings or the texts come or the emails come. You wonder, oh my God, what now? You're waiting. You're on edge. It's hard. So if you're at a point where you say, I just want this to be over, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to you don't have to go find the difficult stuff. It'll find you. Don't push it. It'll find you. But it's okay to be a human being. I want to just add here and sort of, concluding that it's really, again, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes a little bit too here, that when you're getting help for your parents, you're making sure that if they need emotional help, not from you, from a social worker, from someone that they work with, but in terms of support and all of that, it's really important that the playing field be as supportive as possible. And what I mean by that is there's often a lot of players in this. It's mom and dad who are ill or not doing well. You've got a house full of children, whether it's one or beyond that. You've got a spouse or not. You've got a job. Apparently, you still have to pay your rent and mortgage when you're sandwiched, right? You still have to, get to work on time and all of that. If you can get help from the people around you, meaning, I need you to do the dishes. My friends, I know we do carpool I always do Wednesdays. Can one of you do Wednesdays? I can't think. The little things add up and they become big things. When you feel supported, you can be better for everybody else. You're a nicer person. You're a nicer mom or dad, right? When you feel supported, you're less likely to scream at your child for asking you for the new shoes for the 9 billionth time. When you feel supported and you're calmer and you don't feel like you're doing this all on your own, you can listen to what the doctors and the nurses and your mom and dad have to say without losing it. It's a lot of pressure. People lose it. So the support is huge, and it will help make you a better everything for all the people that you're helping. And I think that's it.
Okay. I have two things that come in mind, like two little things. One is it takes a village, so use the village sometimes. It's needed. And the other thing is be kind to yourself. And the word kind has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people, but whatever it is for you, which significance kind, then just use it.
Right. As you said that, if disposable plates, if that's kind to you.
We're not allowed to use disposable plates anymore. I'm just kidding. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'm trying. I mean, I'm trying to save the planet on my own. I have glass now. I don't use the disposable anymore. But the reality is, it's a little easier. And if it's your sanity, I hate to say your sanity versus the planet, but because I know someone's going to be really angry when I say that, but your sanity has to come first. It has to come first. It has to.
Definitely, your sanity has to come first, because if you're not sane, then the rest of the family.
Yeah. And I mean, I know it's comical, so to speak, but imagine, your parent is in the hospital. You end up in the next bed. Then what? If you don't take care of your mind, your body, look, you're not going to be, like I said before, on your A game with everything. But if you don't take care of yourself a little bit, even a little bit, you're going to fall apart. You're going to fall apart. Right. And that's just not a great place to be. So.
Okay, well, I think you gave us a lot of food for thought and a lot of really good suggestions, and I really appreciate it. And if anybody needs, has questions or wants advice, Rachel's phone number is here on the screen, and she's definitely, happy to answer anything and to help. And we are actually, it's been fascinating, and I can talk to you for at least another hour, but we really have to go.
I may have heard that from people. So, I like to chat.
So in the meantime, I'm wishing everybody a good night. We will have our next live in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then. So thank you very much, Rachel, and everybody else. Have a really good night.
Thanks.